Welcome to the deep dive. So today we're doing something a little different. We're not just, reading a travel diary.
Right.
We are actually trying to reverse engineer operational excellence by looking at the anatomy of, well, a perfect hotel stay.
That's exactly our mission. We're trying to move past this vague idea of just good service and really isolate the strategic touch points.
The little
The
nuggets.
little nuggets, exactly. The specific details that operators use to uh, minimize friction and really maximize comfort. We want to find those crucial moments.
Okay, let's just dive right in then. The setup is Ellie and Ken. They've arrived after a really long taxing journey.
The running on fumes.
Totally. So that feeling of relief, it needs to start the second they walk through the door. This isn't just about being welcoming. It's almost like crisis management for tired travelers. The source material really emphasizes the immediate sensory impact of the lobby. It was bright, spacious, modern.
All the usual things you'd hope for.
Right, but the strategic choice here was that it was multisensory. It wasn't just good lighting. It wasn't just that it was clean. The source specifically notes a pleasant scent in the air.
And what's fascinating there is why that scent matters so much.
It's not an accident.
No, not at all. Ambient scenting is it's a very sophisticated tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed to bypass your conscious mind and immediately cue relaxation. It basically tells your brain, you're safe here, before you've even spoken to a person.
And that sensory welcome, it has to be immediately backed up by flawless logistics.
Of course.
A beautiful lobby means absolutely nothing if the check-in line is, 10 people deep. The system needs to have what we call frictionless onboarding. So how did they pull that off?
Well, they balance that human warmth with a really strong operational cadence.
Okay.
They were greeted warmly straight away, that's the human touch, but the actual transaction was swift. Confirmation was quick, documents handled efficiently, and they were immediately given 2 key cards.
Which is such a small thing, but so critical for a couple.
It really is. It gives that sense of independence.
I want to pause on that for a second. We talk about efficiency, but isn't there a risk that speed can come off as, rushed or impersonal? How did the staff manage to be both fast and genuinely warm?
That comes down to deep staff training. It's like a service blueprint. They have these standard operating procedures for the transactional part.
Like breakfast times, elevator location.
Exactly. But they deliver those steps with really high emotional intelligence. The source says Ken and Ellie felt this great sense of gratitude, not just relief. And that means the staff successfully projected genuine helpfulness, not just, ticking boxes on a checklist. That efficiency is what builds the trust.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me, because we see this transition from the hotel's public space, the lobby, into the private sanctuary of the room.
A controlled environment.
Yes. The narrative says they get to the 6th floor, and the transformation was immediate. That lively lobby energy just vanished.
Exactly. And that transition is part of the strategy. The soft carpet in the hallway wasn't just picked for how it looks, it's acoustic engineering.
Okay.
It dampens every single footstep. It immediately lowers the sound floor and communicates tranquility. That shift from the ding of the elevator to a silent hallway just maximizes that feeling of privacy.
So when they get into the room, the strategic placement of everything reinforces this sanctuary idea. It was larger than they thought it would be.
Always a psychological win.
A huge win. And they had a great view of the city, shining buildings stretching out. But the real moment of truth after all that travel was the bed.
Absolutely. The visual promise of comfort, that's the immediate relief. But beyond the size and the view, we have to look at the features that really anchor their relaxation. Ellie took a shower right away.
Washing the stress away.
That physical act is so important. And Ken, he settled down and found English TV programs. It seems like a small detail, but for an international traveler, that little piece of familiarity is profoundly comforting.
And if you connect this to the whole emotional tone, the hotel basically gave them a space where they could just stop worrying.
Yes.
The source talks about the warm orange glow of the sunset hitting the buildings, making the room feel peaceful. It turned it from just a place to sleep into a temporary home.
It did. The hotel's job at that point is just to eliminate the traveler's anxiety. They delivered maximum comfort, which then lets the guests shift their focus to just appreciating their choice. The room wasn't just clean, it was designed for emotional decompression.
So as evening comes, they need dinner, but they're drained.
Understandably.
They end up choosing the hotel restaurant because, and this is key, they didn't want to expend any more energy walking too far.
And that desire for zero friction is such a strategic insight. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the in-house restaurant stops being just a profit center.
It becomes the path of least resistance.
Exactly. When a guest is tired, convenience will always trump novelty,
Yeah.
maybe even small cost differences. The hotel's goal has to be making that decision to dine in completely effortless.
And the execution of that experience had to maintain the same high standards set by everything else. So what about the restaurant atmosphere made it work?
Ambiance control. The soft lighting and the view of the city lights, that provided the drama. But the logistics were key. Even without a reservation, the host found them a table by the window.
Wow. Okay.
That's managing capacity under pressure. It's what makes it five-star service when you can fulfill a premium request like a window table without making the guests feel like they're being a bother.
And the atmosphere itself was engineered for quiet,
Uh-huh.
gentle music, low background noise. But let's talk about the food, because this is where a lot of hotels can fall down.
It's a huge risk.
Was the food just okay, or did it actually reinforce that feeling of luxury?
It absolutely reinforced it. Ellie's grilled chicken was described as juicy and flavorful.
Wow.
Ken's pasta had a rich, creamy sauce.
So quality control.
These aren't just descriptive words. They signal a high level of consistency in sourcing and preparation. A meal has to be memorable in a good way. If that food had been mediocre, it would have undermined every positive impression up to that point.
And they skipped dessert, just had coffee, a quiet end to the meal.
Right. And that whole sequence, the easy seating, the view, the great food, the calm atmosphere, it created a mental state where they could finally truly slow down. The hotel isn't just selling a bed, it's selling control over the pace of your life.
So back in the room, the focus shifts to those small, thoughtful comforts that help you wind down for sleep.
The transition to rest.
Right. Ellie changes into comfortable clothes, which kind of signals the official end of that stressful travel day.
And Ken prepared green tea using the packets they provided. This points to the strategic importance of good complementary amenities. It's a low-cost item with really high perceived value. Providing quality tea, and specifically green tea, which is relaxing, it empowers the guest to create their own little ritual for winding down.
They enjoyed that night view one last time, the city lights glowing. And this led to a conversation about what the trip meant. Ken travels a lot for work, but Ellie rarely does, so this was special for both of them.
And that comfortable setting, with the quiet and the amenities, it facilitated that genuine reflection. It let them move from talking about travel logistics to just sharing a moment.
And planning the next day without any stress.
Yes, a walk in the park, some shopping, just exploring at a relaxed pace. The hotel had done its job. It restored their energy, which made them feel in control of their vacation again.
Okay, let's jump to the final part. Breakfast and departure. This is where consistency is really tested.
It's your last impression.
Exactly. The final meal sets the tone for their lasting memory. They had a huge range of options: eggs, fruit, toast, pancakes, and importantly, fresh orange juice.
And this raises a really important operational question. What's the one detail that proves a commitment beyond just the basics?
It was the juice.
It was the juice. Ellie loved the pancakes, but Ken specifically noted that the juice tasted naturally squeezed, not from concentrate.
Ah.
That suggests the hotel invests in high-quality ingredients, even in a high-volume buffet setting. That kind of commitment to quality, even in the smallest details, is non-negotiable for a true luxury experience.
But the real test of service often comes at checkout, right? The biggest point of friction. How does a hotel ensure a positive ending when people are facing the reality of leaving?
By strategically extending the guest's journey. They had to check out, yes, but the hotel proactively offered to store their luggage.
So simple, but so huge.
It's monumental. It completely eliminates the rush, it minimizes the pain of that deadline, and it changes checkout from an abrupt ending to a smooth transition. It lets them maximize their remaining time.
So instead of dragging their bags to the station, they could go to a souvenir shop, plan one last coffee. It gives them autonomy right to the very end.
Precisely. And the final verdict, even though they were sad to leave, was this powerful validation. They agreed they would return someday for a longer stay.
The ultimate goal.
That decision to rebook is the ultimate measure of loyalty. And it's earned through all those things: sensory consistency, logistical efficiency, and that proactive convenience. Hashtag tag outro.
So what does this all really mean for you, the listener? Well, the journey of Ellie and Ken shows us that exceptional service is built on maximizing comfort and minimizing friction at every single stage.
It's a consistent thread of excellence.
Yeah, a thread that runs all the way from the scent in the lobby to that offer of luggage storage at the end.
And the operational lessons here are so clear. Excellence requires both the sensory details, like the quiet carpet and the fresh juice, and the logistical excellence, like that smooth check-in and the choice to extend the guest's stay past checkout time.
It's the consistency of delivering those small, high-impact wins that turns a simple stay into real loyalty.
Absolutely. The final outcome is that unsolicited promise to return someday. But here's the interesting question to think about. Which one element was strategically the most effective? Given how exhausted they were when they arrived, do you think the single biggest factor that made them want to come back was the efficiency of the check-in, the deliberate quiet of the room, or that final thoughtful gesture of storing their luggage? It's something for you to mull over next time you're analyzing your own travel experience.